There you go. Hello, everybody. Yes,
Hey there.
section. Undercover Punch and Gun themselves. One is Punch, one is Gun. Which one?
Yeah, and there's well, Andy's gun. I'm Punch, and Vanessa's Knife. We didn't have Knife in the title.
also Car.
And Car, yeah. Mainly Vanessa.
Little auto action. Well, gentlemen, introduce yourselves, because I could tell people your credits, but they don't want to hear from me. So, alphabetical order, Philip.
Well, my name is Philip Ng or Ng, depending on where you're pronouncing my name from. I'm a actor and action director, choreographer from Hong Kong. Been working here for about 20 years, and we're talking about a movie that I helped produce and create called Undercover Punching Gun. And let me introduce my buddy here.
I thought you were going to introduce me.
His name is Vanessa Wu, the most famous boy band boy ever that I've ever met. And then I was lucky enough to get him in my movie.
Uh-oh.
Taiwan, baby. Taiwan in the house. There you go.
Yeah, so I don't even know where to begin, but I guess I act, I sing, like to dance, produce, direct, and then I also design clothing and shoes. Yeah, kind of all around what I do in a nutshell. It's kind of weird to say all that stuff.
It is, but better you than me. So
you're like Batman. You're like a polymorph. Is it polymath?
Yeah. Anything you want to call him is fine. But now, since this is the Kung Fu Extravaganza, how did you go? Philip, how did you get introduced to Kung Fu? What brought you into Kung Fu?
Well, my father runs a martial arts school in Chicago. I guess I grew up with it. I've been doing Kung Fu since I was 7. Trained with my father, who teaches Choreography. Trained with my uncles, who trained in Hong Gar and Wing Chun. And then as I got older, my father and my uncle pushed me to Hong Kong to train with Wong Shun Lau. You guys have heard of him, I'm sure. He's one of Yip Man's top disciples, and also Bruce Lee's older Kung Fu brother and instructor. I trained with him until his untimely passing, and then continued training with his other students, and and also dabbled in other things. Got a black belt in Taekwondo. I mean, just did amateur boxing, Thai boxing. Everything I could. Yeah, black belt. I know that doesn't count for much anymore. You can kind of buy those now,
especially in Taekwondo. Taekwondo.
Oh, damn.
Well, every art is very important. I think, if you've done correctly, you've done correctly. But I martial arts is my life. I grew up doing that, and like other people brush their teeth, I get in my horse dance and brush my teeth.
Best way to do it.
Yeah.
Now, Ness, how did you get involved in martial arts and/or Kung Fu?
Well, when I was younger, I dabbled in like Phil, but not as intensely as him. But I did Taekwondo a little bit. I did a little Kempo and karate and stuff like that. But then when I was 13, I got more into dancing, street dancing. So I was doing popping, locking, and then trying to learn some break moves. But that kind of really propelled me and took passion. So that helped with the choreography and film later on. But I always stuck with it. And when I shot my first film, that's when I met Philip. That's when I really got into the whole kickboxing, and I really love boxing in general now. Cardio and exercise, a form of exercise. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of like how I got into it as a kid. When you're a kid, you watch all the guys and Jackie Chan and everybody, and then playing with whether it's not O's, that and Chucks. You just pick them up because it's part of your culture, I guess. Yeah.
It's
nice.
Cool.
Mm.
What was that first movie where you met?
Star Runner.
Yeah, we did a movie. Van did a movie called Star Runner. It's I'm sure maybe you guys have heard of it. It's actually long. It's a much older movie, but it was the first. Well, I mean, we may not have seen it though, right? But anyway, so like there was it was a first for all of us because Vanessa came out of a TV show called Meteor Garden, which kind of blew him up to a really high status level as a pop star and a movie and like a TV star. And then it was my first gig as a assistant choreographer. I've done like stunt work and stuff like that before, but it was my first gig as a assistant choreographer. And then Andy came on. He won the best newcomer award. So like, it was like we're all like freshmen at a school. So and then we all got really close together because I was in charge of training Vanessa and Andy for the movie. I mean, they didn't need much training, but you know, Vanessa needed to look like a very convincing Hong Gar and Wing Chun practitioner. So I was in charge of that. So I mean, how we got so close was like since I was in charge of training him, like every day, even outside of the office, I would take a cab and go to his hotel and train him every day. I mean, we end up just eating his room service and swimming in his pool most of the time, but I mean, but that's we spent a lot of time together and it really developed our relationship starting there and then just kind of build from there.
Okay, well so the next question is, how did you go from practical life kung fu and martial arts into cinema and television?
It was an arduous process actually. I mean, because when I first started, they actually were complaining about my, you know, like I was fighting too fast or I had a broken rhythm, because that's what's necessary for fighting for real. You can't have your opponent read you, right? But when you're making movies, when you're fighting in a movie, it's like the opposite. You have to look like you're hurting each other, but you have to be able to read each other. So that was a big thing to get kind of that's a big hurdle to get over. But once you get over that, I mean, having a martial arts background actually helps, because you need that kind of body structure and that framework to kind of perform those movements, you know, convincingly. But learning this fighting on screen craft is definitely much different than fighting for real, you know. And as Vanessa can attest. So,
but again, how did you go out and audition for movies, or did people come to you?
I was hired on the stunt team. I was on the Chingalok stunt team. I was one of the first members on the stunt team. Yeah, and then you learn from there.
What did you say, Ness?
I said Philip actually stunt doubled for me a couple times in the first film, and then you doubled.
I almost died.
Did you double Andy?
I doubled everybody. I mainly doubled you because Wong Sum, remember Sum Go? He was the double for Andy. I doubled for you mainly because you were tossed around by Andy a lot, and now my body's lighter, so I doubled for you. So you know, that's how we all started. I was a stunt coordinator as well as you know, stuntman double, whatever. And then Vanessa was the star. Andy was the other lead. And then, you know, we just hung out together all the time. And I think the nature of the fact that we're all from the States, you know, we all grew up overseas, and, you know, we're bicultural, you know, like, but it is a funny thing for us is like, when we're in the States, you know, there's the Chinese guy, right? But when we're in Asia, we're like the foreigners, because, you know, we grew up overseas, so we don't have our own like niche, right? So, you know, that's another reason why we're all real close. You know, Vanessa has a lot of friends that are, you know, all speak English, you know, from Taiwan as well, like, you know.
Mm-hmm. So again, you're doing kung fu. Your family sent you to Hong Kong. Was the thought always to get into television and movies, or was
actually no. My goal, I just trained kung fu to train kung fu, and then you know, and I always had a dream of coming to Hong Kong to do movies. And then once I got my master's degree, I talked to my parents, and I was like, yo, I'm gonna come to Hong Kong and try it out for a few years, and you know, now I've been here for 20 almost. So that was how I got into it.
So, but now we've got Undercover Punch and Gun, originally Undercover versus Undercover, and this is your project.
Yeah, I was the impetus for the project. I you know, me and Vanessa and Andy were, you know, we hung out all the time. We're always working on different projects, and I was like, yo, you know, it'd be really great if we can just get together and make our own movie, something that we want to do. And I was always very vocal about it. And then when I was making a movie with a producer named Charlie Wong, you know, he heard about this idea, and he's an up-and-coming producer. He's like, yo, do you guys want to get something together done? So, you know, I kind of told him my idea. One thing led to another. He was in charge of helping me get financing, and I got all the crew together. I got my brothers, you know, Vanessa and Andy, and I got some of the other actors, get everything together, and you know, and then made this movie. I mean, we went through a few directors first, a few scripts, but eventually we landed on working with Loy Gun Lam and Frankie Tam. They're a very prolific script writers in Asia, and then first time directors. So they wrote the script and they directed the stuff, and I was in charge of all the action. I designed all the action and directed it and choreographed all that stuff. And
Nice.
yeah, but Ness, I mean, without Vanessa and Andy, the movie would not have been happened. So you should ask Vanessa why he did it.
I will. Let me think about. I have to think about what question I'm going to ask Vanessa next. Vanessa, why'd you do it? Why'd you do it?
I didn't really have a choice of the matter.
You had a choice. You're famous.
Your buddy asks you to be in the film that is first time producing and action directing, and then he wants your other buddy to do it. He can't say no. So for me, I mean, honestly, a lot of like when
you could have said no.
I guess at the end of the day, it's like it's an opportunity for me to hang out with my brothers and just kind of be working at the same time. You don't, there's not a lot of opportunities like that these days. And it took a very long time for this project to become like this. It wasn't an easy shoot. There were long hours. There's no union, so but
It doesn't matter if there's unions.
but we all just put in everything that we got into it and just made this film. And the fact that I still trip out that promoting it after how long that it's released in Asia again, it's actually really nice feeling. And so that reason why, because brother and I got him like that.
I tell you, it's an awesome showcase for the two of you. Philip, what was your process in terms of choreographing this? In other words, was it all pre-planned, or did you do it, come onto the set, work with everybody, and then do it? How did you design the action for this?
Well, I'm pretty sure you've talked to other action actors and choreographers in Asia. There's many ways to do it here. A lot of times earlier in my career, even the big budget movies I work on, like with Yuen Ping or other very top name choreographers, a lot of times we choreograph on the set, we practice on the set, and we film it on the set. I mean, a lot of the big movies you've seen are done that way. But the way that I do things when I choreograph, when I can, and I've given the time, or especially in this project where I'm one of the producers, I would always choreograph ahead of time. And especially with this project, since I had a hand in kind of structuring the script and structuring the scenes. And I understood where certain set pieces were in the movie and what I needed to do with certain set pieces and what certain characters needed to display at certain points. So I knew, I had an idea going in what I needed to do. So, but beforehand, I had my boys do a previs with me. They choreograph, I adjust, I get the camera angles, we do a previs, so all the actors, everybody knows what's going on. Because my philosophy is the more time you spend in prep, the less time you have to worry about it in production. So that's my process. And I mean, I choreograph for Andy and Vanessa, outside of like this movie and every movie I do. Like I just did a movie with Andy right before COVID hit in China, and I flew there 2 weeks earlier before Andy did with my boys to choreograph every single one of the scenes and do the previses. So that's my process, and I think it's that way it's easier for everyone to understand. And also I like to discuss with my brothers, like with Vanessa, I'd be like, oh, look, I want you to do parkour. What kind of suggestions do you have for me? What kind of moves have you mastered in parkour? Or like he tells me, I was like, Van, you need to do a knife fight because I want you to do a knife fight. And Van is like, yo, I've been practicing this Bella song thing since I was a kid. I'm like, that's a really hard knife to use. I can't use it. I can't. I've never done it in a movie, but Vanessa's like showed me some tricks, and then during the pre-production and during production, he's always training with it and getting good with it. So I was able to kind of take the intricacies of that knife and kind of incorporate it into that fight scene. Hearing it.
Do you have anything to say about that knife fight?
I need Vanessa to talk about this. He knows the whole sequence still.
I was just practicing a lot, and then I got really comfortable with the knife to where whenever I threw it, I didn't even need to look at it. And then that comfort, I just like feel, just give me that one shot in the beginning, in that opening scene where I'm throwing that knife, I don't look at it, and I catch it, I'm out to kick his butt. Like, I want to look that badass, like in that one shot.
It only took 2 takes.
It took 2 takes, yeah. So that was, I mean,
but that throw, not the whole fight. The whole fight took all day.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun, a lot of training and times that we had to do it, and like before the fight even happened, Philip just said like make sure you're training even when you're not here, and I was in Taipei and I was just training by myself and finding people to train with me with it. So the knife fight itself, it was just being really familiar with that weapon as much as you can, and as if you're like falling asleep and you can still do it. And then there's moments where I'm like, hey, Phil, I'm thinking about doing this. Can I try it like that? And Phil gave me a lot of freedom to kind of just play with it. And then he's like, well, what do you feel comfortable over here? I'm like, doing a spin and doing something else. He's like, okay, cool, do it, So I think that's why the chemistry works so well with all three of us. And whenever I see Philip and Andy fight too, it's just so comfortable. It's very fluid, but then it's very impactful as well. Yeah.
Well, it also, the previs works out very well for minimizing injuries. So I wanted to ask specifically about the car scene, Van Ness. How much of that was you? How fast was the car going? I believe you went off that car and into those barrels, did you not?
Yeah. That was a while ago. It was every that I can do my own stunts. I would say I could do it, and they allowed me. But I just really enjoyed it, just watching, all your growing up, that you're able to also make sure you're safe. It was, I had a blast. It was pretty much all me, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
It was a 95% you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can't afford a stunt double. It was a low budget movie. Just kidding. He had one.
Nobody could get that beard the way you had your beard. I mean, there's no way that any stuntman could reproduce the facial hair.
Yeah,
so
that's why we filmed the back of his head.
Yeah.
So no damage. How about both of you? Any injuries on the shoot?
Yeah, I broke 2 of my ribs.
Oh man.
And
But Vanessa though, I mean, let's talk about his car stunt stuff, because like that was all him. That was all real. It wasn't a joke. And I think the part where he ran into the barrels, where I remember having a talk with Vanessa. I'm like, yo, usually we don't have actors do this, but I think I'm gonna put the camera right on your face, so when you fly off the car, they know it's you. And because it's cement and we can't put a pad there because it'll show, I'll put a pad on you, and then you just fall off the car as it spins around. I gave him some general tips, and we did some general rehearsals with mats and everything. Did we even do rehearsals with mats? Yeah, we did. And then I think like 1 or something. And then Vanessa's like, let's do it. But I think at that point of the shoot, Van was already kind of real familiar with being on top of the car, and was comfortable on and off, because he's fell off the car so many times already. So I mean,
Man.
fall off the car.
Yeah. So,
man.
Yeah.
Now, how did you break your ribs?
Oh, Andy broke them. I wish he was here. He broke them. Yeah.
Of course he did.
Of course he did. He said I didn't pay him enough, so he kicked me in the ribs.
You didn't give him good craft services.
No, there was no craft services. I was happy there was lunch boxes. But the point is, what happened was it was a long and arduous shoot, and then and we're filming the ending, and the day before I fought Zhang Lusha. Is that right? My Mandarin? I'm sorry, Kitty.
I just do Cantonese.
Yeah, Zhang Loha, the female, she's excellent. I worked with her many times, and but when you fight her, she hits really hard. Like she hits harder than most of the people that I've fought with everybody in Hong Kong, and she probably is one of the hardest hitters. And during that scene, I was taking hits from her. I was taking hits. I think she already loosened up my ribs a little bit that day, and then the next day, we had another sequence where Andy ends up with the back kick that kicks me. I block it and I fly through the door, but and then he was wearing these Timberland, just huge boots, these like work boots, right? And we had stunt shoes made, so if you know what stunt shoes are, they're basically they're shoes, but they're softer, so when they kick you, you don't die. It still hurts, but so you don't die. But anyway, but there was some confusion with the props department and the art department, so they couldn't get the shoes ready in time. So I, but we didn't have time. It was a lower budget movie, and and I didn't want to keep anybody too long. So I said, all right, let's just shoot it. It's a simple sequence. Me and Andy fought together millions of times. So, usually at the most simple things is the most dangerous, right? So he slipped a little bit, and when I raised my hands to block, my ribs were open. So he slipped and he jacked me right in the ribs, and then like full force, and I flew in the door. But I still didn't know it was broken yet. It was cracked yet. So I had a suspicion because I'd broken my ribs before, and I told my assistant, I was like, "Oh, I think I popped my ribs, but don't tell anybody, insurance reasons." And then so I did a couple more gags, did a wire gag where I go into a wall. Everything was fine, and I go into the makeup trailer. There was a bunch of girls there, so I took off my shirt, because it was hot, and there was air conditioning, and then and I sneezed, and when I sneezed, I heard a pop.
Oh no!
And then and I was like, I tell my boys to come in. They fill me up. They're like, "Yo, hey, brother Phil, you should go see a doctor." So I went to the doctor and got an X-ray, and lo and behold, they cracked one and almost broke the other. But and I was told to stop filming, but I couldn't. We didn't have money for pickups, so the rest of the ending, you see, I filmed with 2 broken ribs, and there was a sequence where I had to use the double, was like near the end, but everything else was on me. But that was a big story.
That would do it. Now, I was in Hong Kong in 1986.
Yeah.
And when I met John Woo and saw the premiere of A Better Tomorrow.
Nice.
And I coined the phrase gun fu.
Yeah. Oh, that was you.
Apparently. So, to see a Hong Kong audience react the way they did. But the point here is that it's undercover, punch, and gun.
Yeah.
How did you? Now the gun stuff did not seem to be live shooting. Was that digital? Was the digital reports?
Yeah, it was. Well, we had both. We did squibs, we did blanks, and we did digital. I mean, I'm sure you're very familiar with filmmaking, and it's very dangerous to put a real gun, even with a blank, up close to someone's face, and even for John Wick, they don't do that, right? So when the stuff you see with Andy doing real close quarter kind of gunplay, that's with fake guns and with not fake guns, but with fake bullets, but shots where you see a little bit further away, it's all squibs and blanks. It's a safety issue, and also I think since we're making something that's like hyper realistic, it's not really realistic, a little bit stylized. I think it's safer, it's more comfortable, and it's easier to choreograph with guns that don't shoot live rounds.
Yes, is that a toy that Van Ness? Is that something that
Bottle opener?
Bottle opener. There we go. Excellent. Good job. I thought you pulled out a knife for a second. It's like,
Where's your knife, Andy? Wait, Van, where's your knife? Did you have it still?
My bali song? I have another one. I have a pocket knife.
Oh, do you have a Bella song on you?
Let's all pull out our knives.
Oh, hold on. Let me get mine. All my weapons are back here.
Sweet.
I've got some in every room, so it's all right.
Yeah, I got one. It's called my wallet. I usually give it to someone and I run away. That's
the way to do it.
They open it. There's no money. Too late. Bye.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
and as I always
song though.
Nah.
As I always say, when
Still
someone
cool.
does that to me, I say, "Oh, you brought me a knife."
Yeah.
Thank you.
There you go. Thanks. Oh, sweet.
Cool.
Bali songs are illegal in California.
Is it illegal?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, it is.
Oh, they're legal in Hong Kong action movies.
It's fun.
You've been selling this movie for. I mean, the movie was. I think you released this a couple of years ago in Hong Kong. Yes.
219 in Asia.
2019. So you've been selling this for 2 years. And also, how are things where you are in terms of are you going to be able to come out and start making films the way you used to again? And are you already?
I don't think anyone will be able to make films like they used to anymore. I think a lot of things won't be like they used to anymore. But I mean, in terms of if the business is going to bounce back, it's slowly bouncing back. But I mean, like it's mostly streaming and it's mostly lower budget projects here, and a lot of the bigger projects are postponed, understandably. I mean, like for instance, if we have to travel to the mainland, there's 3 weeks quarantine, right? And that's 3 weeks of additional production costs, right? So and at this time, I can imagine if I was an investor, I wouldn't feel safe investing in this kind of property at this time. So it's understandable, but I mean, it is bouncing back because we do need entertainment. And then also we do have, streaming services, which is like the new thing. And with the advent of streaming services is actually saving this industry, rather than hurting it. A lot of people there's two camps. They're like, oh, the theater camp and there's like the streaming camp. But I'm in a camp where if you're able to make content and the audience is able to see it, that is the most important. So
That's right.
that's what I mean. It's like this whole thing is like a blessing and a curse. And I had like 5 projects lined up right before this thing happened, right? And then they all got canceled or postponed. But but I still have, thank God, I still have work coming out. I still have projects that I've done previously, and then they're still being released and keeping me up, keeping me in the public eye, which is, thank God for that. But but also it's a blessing because I was able to work a lot before that, and during this time, this last year, I've been writing and kind of developing projects that I plan on producing later on this year and next year. So, you want to make use of the time that you're given, and I think always look at the positive and try to create when find avenues to create when you think there is none, and
right.
But also thank God for giving me work beforehand, so I'm able to kind of live through this time very easily. So
very good.
Yeah.
Ben, what are you doing?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, well, I'm in California right now, and I've just been working on my music. Was in the studio today, some recording. I've just been doing some training. I have a skill match tomorrow. It's a competition shooting.
Oh yeah, he's got gun guy now.
Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a steel match. So all you hear is like ping, 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 ping. All this, and you feel much better about yourself because you're actually hitting a target. When you're hitting paper, then it's more of a humbling experience when you hit paper. But yeah, it's myself busy, and then but then spending more time with family. I was actually supposed to head to China earlier, but things got pulled and certain things happened, which didn't allow me. So I'll probably head back this month. Quarantine and then see what projects are happening. But I also have productions in the works, some scripts that were in the process, and hopefully we can get that moving as well. I'm thinking about really just challenge myself and say screw it and just kind of direct film myself as well.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well,
don't screw it, man. Just do it.
Yeah, there you go. That's the T. Well, this is the 24th annual Kung Fu Extravaganza. This has been going on for almost a quarter of a century. So you have anything to say to the Kung Fu film-loving audience, please say it now.
Man, do you want to do the honors first?
To the Kung Fu to the Kung Fu community, it's just thank you for just always being there, and I really am blessed to be able to be a part of it. Even though it's a small part, but just to be a part of it is a dream come true. And then just really, like, I have a lot of Kung Fu friends over here, the Martial Club, the guys that are in Paper Tigers recently, been training with them. So shout out to Ann and Dima. But it's really cool to see the next generation doing more and more crazier stuff. They went from whatever, Jackie and them were doing, and Donnie and all, and now you see all these little kids doing training with martial arts. It's just insane. So I'm really excited to see where it's going to go next and how it's just developing more and more. And I'm just very blessed that I'm part of it. And thanks, Phil, for always being there for me for it too, and you guys as well. Yep.
Your turn, Philip.
Well, I obviously have to thank the Kung Fu fan community. I myself is part of that community. If I'm basically a fanboy who got lucky and ended up being in Hong Kong making movies with my idols. That's just I feel very fortunate. I'm just basically one of you guys that got lucky, right? And then but to the audience, if you want, I want you guys to be around for another quarter century, another century, another 2 centuries, because the only way these movies are going to keep getting made is because of the audience support. That's really it. That's the main thing. And having kind of avenues and kind of platforms like you have here, it's a good way to kind of disseminate our martial culture, which is a very Asian thing all over the world, and much appreciated. So continue supporting. Thank you very much.
Everybody can see you guys on the Hi-Ya streaming service at any time in this great movie and all your future films. We're looking forward to it. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Let's wrap it, and then we'll have a little chat. Hold on.